Grant Wordsworth, and I am Quality Manager for Affinity Water.
Grant, thank you very much indeed for talking to the Affinity Water podcast series today. We're looking at careers in the water industry and particularly within Affinity Water. Tell me, what role do you perform and when did you join Affinity Water?
Thanks, Bonnie. I actually joined Affinity Water 11 years ago next month. A memorable time it was. And my job role is to look after the quality assurance of the company to make sure that the business follows established procedures that lead to successful objectives being met and our targets being achieved. It's basically focused around customer satisfaction and helping people deliver on our objectives.
And did you start out as a water person?
No, I spent 27 years in a forensic engineering laboratory and company investigating component failures, accidents, process failures, and obviously sometimes business failures too. So there's a bit of experience behind it before I joined the water industry. I joined the water industry as a novice to water. I was one of those customers that realised water fell from the sky and it should come out my taps immediately.
But of course,
I've changed my mind now.
Yeah, you're almost a forensic detective within the water industry. Why do you think it's important to work in, if you like, an industry that's about sustainability? It's about the essentials of life. It's about the environment. And it's, as you say, about delivering clear, clean water, drinkable water to customers' homes.
Absolutely. The term quality is all-encompassing. If you want to be a high-quality company, then you will be monitoring your impact on the environment, you'll be monitoring your impact on people, you'll be monitoring your impact on natural resources and such like. So quality is quite a broad subject, and obviously business management systems that control processes that have impacts or try and mitigate risks and identify hazards are key to any company's success. And as an individual, I find that interesting, not just necessarily from the forensic base, but even from, the customer service point of view.
One of the roles that you have, indeed I've worked with you, is crisis management, whether it's in office hours or out of office hours at the weekend, when emergencies happen, such as Storm Eunice. Can you tell us, people know how the emergency services more widely, the fire, police, ambulance work, but they don't seem to recognise how important it is to keep the taps running in an emergency.
Yes, and obviously, no offence, I must correct you, it's emergency management rather than crisis management. We've only had one crisis so far recently, and that was COVID-19. But when water goes off, or when there is an incident like a significant pollution event, damage to property, or extreme weather events, people do expect water to come out their taps continuously. And sometimes that is extremely difficult for us as a company to organise. But we have procedures in place that we follow to ensure that best made plans can be implemented and customer impact is kept to a minimum. This is all about customer well-being, customer welfare. It's not just about the business. Obviously, we provide water for the customer and to maintain public health.
And within that remit is, of course, hospitals. Affinity Water has hospitals in its regions, old people's homes, mothers with young families and babies. And for them, you can't be without water.
Indeed, and we actually have a priority service register that looks after those that are on it, and that includes what we classify as Tier 1 and Tier 2 customers. They are both customers that need assistance in getting water and at a priority. And we have teams that are stood up to deliver that during an emergency, just to make sure that, one, our ethical, we are compliant with our ethics, we're compliant with the morals, and we are compliant with our obligations. So it is a complicated process getting water to everybody, especially those who have an extreme dependency on it.
And one of those recent emergencies, which I referred to earlier, was Storm Eunice. So, that's about every hand to the tiller, as they say. People coordinating, having regular meetings and updates, finding out where the damage and perhaps the power outages are.
Yes, we have key processes in place as part of the emergency preparedness, which any high quality company has, just to ensure that we can meet our objectives and commitments under challenging times. The recent Storm Eunice and Storm Franklin did pose some challenges, especially when the power went off, and we had regular meetings to identify what was needed and where and who was going to deliver it. Obviously, it went on for quite a while, so there was even issues around resource changes to make sure that individuals, be they employees, be they volunteers, or be they members of the public, were not too stressed by the situation. And as a company, we managed to keep the people, our customers who were without water, to an absolute minimum.
The staff, the employees of Affinity Water did incredibly well throughout those storm weekends and hours. But you also personally have another high-profile role, Grant, where you'll run the National Incident Management Group. What's that about?
Our trade association for the water industry is called Water UK. And through the guise of Water UK, I sit on this group, as you referred to, the National Incident Management Team, that's commonly called NIM. And we co-ordinate the information from all water companies, so there is a clear picture of the state of the water industry in the UK, be it Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland or England. And we actually evaluate the impact and the risks. We identify what recommendations need to be followed, and we advise the companies who sit in an organisation called PIM on what strategy to follow. My role at NIM at present, I also have to liaise with the DEFRA, with the groups, the crisis management team in DEFRA, with the BAYS, with the Department for Transport, and for the Department for Care, Housing and Local Authority. So it's a challenging time. Storm Eunice saw me wearing both hats. Between our meetings, I was holding national meetings. But overall, we got a good picture, we were in a good place, and we tried to help other companies wherever we could.
And would that help mean that if there was, say, within Thames, Southern or Anglia, neighbouring water authorities and companies, if they needed help, you'd go and help them and they would help you?
Yes, where a company is struggling in the situation, especially in Storm Eunice and Storm Franklin, we captured the data on where the impacts were. We identified the companies that were struggling or who were facing specific challenges in their region. We tried to coordinate mutual aid where it was possible, and where government intervention on suppliers, other utility companies was necessary, we escalated it to DEFRA and BAYS to address the situation.
And in that role, can you, hand on heart, recommend a career in the water industry, and particularly Affinity Water, to other, should we say, youngsters, men or women, who perhaps like you have an engineering, a science, a graduate background, who want to join in, if you like, this fight for a better environment, for sustainability? It's really a worthwhile career.
Oh, it certainly is. I mean, I'm a mechanical engineer by background, and as you say, I've had a bit of a varied career, but my current focus is on quality, And the big focus is on the environment. Our purpose is to provide wholesome drinking water that customers can trust and to take care of the environment. And there is an awful lot of science, an awful lot of engineering, an awful lot of operational support needed to do that. And Affinity Water can provide such a varied package for the individual or the candidate who wants to work for us.
In that case, the other thing I have to kind of raise is that people don't appreciate that water is, you could argue, an emergency service in the way that the other rescue services are, that it's a really important industry to work in.
It is. I mean, water is for life. You can survive without a mobile phone for more than 48 hours. For more, unless you're my daughter, you can't survive without water for that long if you're a highly dependent customer. And water is crucial to life, and restoring that forms part of the national infrastructure restoration that NIM tries to achieve. Critical national infrastructure is critical to the functioning of the UK as a whole, and Affinity Water play a significant part in that for 3.6 million customers. And each one of those has individual needs and individual expectations that our business management system tries to address.
And of course, cyber attacks.
Cyber attacks, they're often not heard about, they're often not understood. People only recognise them when they actually impact on them as individuals or them as companies. There's an awful lot of work that goes behind the scenes just to ensure that people are protected and appropriate advice is given. We have teams ready should we have a cyber attack or a cyber threat presents itself, who will put processes and systems in place to minimise or actually negate impact. So it's not just about water, it's about our customers.
And is that what you like most about your role? You've got this engineering, mechanical engineering background. You came into the water industry relatively late, but these are essential services, and it must be a varied job you have. The role day to day isn't routine.
It is a varied job. It's very rare that 2 days are the same, but my role is to share my knowledge, share my advice, pass on my experience, so others don't necessarily have to go through the same pain that I may have done 20 or 30 years ago in learning. Learn from others, that's my motto.
And just finally, colleagues good to work with. I like working with you, Grant.
That's very kind of you, and that's only because I phone you up during emergency situations saying, Bonnie, we need some comms going out. So yes, happy to work with you. I have no problem with colleagues. The people at Affinity Water are wonderful. There's nobody that causes too much trouble. There's nobody that deliberately sets out to harm themselves or the environment. They just need good advice and better people to work with, I suppose. Me, I'm just a small cog in a really big game.
Well, me too. Grant Wordsworth, thank you very much indeed for talking to the Affinity Water podcast series today, looking at a career in the water sector and particularly within Affinity Water. Good luck with your future emergencies.
Thank you very much indeed, Bonnie. Take care of yourself.